Hi everybody, I'm Hiyina, and I've been working on a drawing on Animal Jam Play Wild for the past few weeks or so. And I recorded it, so I thought why not make it a speed paint and talk over it. First, I started out with this sketch. I didn't start recording until afterwards, so you don't get to see any of that process, but I mean, it's not really any different than anybody else sketching, so you're not missing out on much. And then we're just gonna get onto lining this thing, this cat. It's based off of my Halloween outfit in Animal Jam Play Wild. I actually do really like the cat models that they added. I think they're really cute, and I like that they can have heterochromia for free, which it's kind of absurd that they're making you pay for a heterochromia potion that only works on one animal. Same with the den potions though. Like, they only work on one den. That kind of sucks, but I mean, what can you do? What can you do about that other than not buy it? For the neck ruffle, I just went off sketch and completely free-handed the whole thing, just because I thought I could draw it better than I had drawn it in the sketch, and I would say I did draw it better. You might see all these dots showing up on the screen, and that is because my hand kept pressing on the screen while I was trying to draw. But I will take care of those later because they're just gonna keep piling up anyway. And it's easier just to deal with it at the end than have to erase as I go. Same with errors in the line art. I erased some of them at the beginning, but then eventually I realized it's just like, I'll just erase them at the end to save myself a little bit of time and suffering. But to be fair, this was all suffering. I spent like 10 hours drawing this. Not that I'm not proud of it, but it was definitely a pain. For the lollipop antlers, I was just being a little bit lazy and using the circle tool for the ones I could. Obviously the ones along the edge, the circle tool wouldn't have worked as well because you need to be able to press in the center of where you want the circle to be and drag outward. And with the ones along the edge, you can't really do that. The same with the antlers. When I did the line art for those, I just used the straight line tool, the line tool, whatever you want to call it. Just because it's such a pain drawing straight lines sometimes. And why put in more effort when you can use a tool that already does that? The only negative to it is that the lines turn out slightly thinner than the rest of them. But you can always fix that with like going over it again with your pen or something. Or just honestly leaving it because nobody's really gonna notice that. Also, another thing I figured out while I was drawing is my tablet case. It has the magnets in it for like the automatic on when you open the case. But I figured out it messes with the edges of my tablet a bit. So while I did stuff along the edges, I had to take the case off, which was, oh my god, I was so stressed while I had it off. If I dropped my tablet while it was like that, I don't know, I would have cried or something. I spent so much money on it, and it was like my first big girl purchase. It's the first thing I actually purchased with money I earned. And I mean, to be fair, I've had it for 4 years now, and it's a good tablet. You might notice as we go, I thicken up some of the lines in like crevices and corners, partly so I don't end up with like any of those single pixels that don't fill with the fill bucket, but also because I think it just adds a little extra pizzazz to the line art instead of just being some flat lines. I also like to thicken up line art to make it look more like shadows. Like in the little crevices where there'd be dark shadows, I like to put some line art there instead of using some sort of shading color, just to save myself some time, really. And I merged together all my line art layers so that I could erase more efficiently, which I kind of regretted for a few parts of it, but I mean, it's not that much more of an inconvenience, just to be careful with it. For the base colors, I eventually gave up trying to trace around the character and instead just took the line art, duplicated it, and filled in all the colors and filled the line art as the same color as the fill color. And I'm honestly just lazy. I'm just lazy. This is such a painful software to use. Well, I don't know if you could even call it a software. It's literally just a mini-game on Animal Jam. Or at least it's in the mini-game section, so technically a mini-game? And as you can see on the side of the canvas, I've started a little color palette swatch area where I'm gonna put all the base colors, highlight colors, and shading colors, since you only can save like 6 at a time. At least with Animal Jam Play Wild, you can use their color picking tool to pick up colors that you already used, which I wish Classic would implement, because it would make it infinitely easier on artists. I have to say, one of the more annoying parts of this process was that I had to fully encapsulate the colors that I wanted to fill with line art before I could actually fill them, or it would bleed into everything else. Overall, I think this drawing process took about 5-6 days, maybe? I don't know, at the beginning I was just sketching. I didn't know what I was really gonna do with it or if I wanted to finish it, but after I finished the sketch, I was kind of like, yeah, why don't we record this? I don't know. Give me something to post on my YouTube channel that I haven't posted on in like 7 years or so. Besides like that one video archiving the 2025 Play Wild April Fool's update. Because I was worried nobody was gonna archive it, and I thought it was pretty cool. You can see all like the glitches with the camera being put at that perspective and stuff. But now we're getting on to the rendering. I'm just adding some shading and lighting to the mouth, the ears, just kind of all over generally. I once made a masterpiece using soft shading, which was such a pain that I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing soft shaded masterpieces ever again. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth the tens of hours that you're gonna spend blurring and smudging everything around. It's just, ugh. I do not like Animal Jam Play Wild's airbrush. It is ugly. Give us the classic airbrush. Why does it have that weird texture around it? It doesn't even look like an airbrush. Nor does it have like any... It's not even low opacity. It's just a high opacity brush with a little fade along the edges, and I'm not a fan. With this Animal Jam Play Wild drawing, I'm not really that worried about making it perfect, just because, I mean, it's Animal Jam. Their art program isn't all that great, and I don't have to spend 20-30 hours trying to make something look perfect. And either way, I found out people are gonna appreciate your art, whether it's good or bad. So I'm not gonna put in more effort on a game art program than I really need to. Because, oh my god, this would have probably went on for like 20 more hours. And I mean, the recording is already long enough that I could not handle it being any longer than it already is, especially when I edit this. It's gonna be something. And one thing that bugged me was that if the colors were too similar between the color that you wanted to fill in somewhere and the color that was already there, you had to fill it with a separate color that was different and then refill it with the color that you wanted it to be, which really bugged me when I switched out my black shading with a slightly darker, bluer version of it, because I had to go around and fill everything with a separate color before I could actually fill it in with the color I wanted to change it to. And also I had to worry about missing spots, but I don't think I missed anywhere, so it shouldn't really be a problem. Which you might not believe this, but at the very end, while I was drawing them, I'm like, why didn't I make her a zombie? Why didn't I? Because that would have been genius. I wish I thought about that before so I could have given her like stitches on her patterns and stuff. But since I didn't, it's not that big a deal. She'll always be a zombie kitty in my heart. Picking the colors I was going to use to render the drawing was actually pretty easy. And what I did was I took the base color, and for highlights, I moved it diagonally upwards towards the white end of the color square. And for shading, I moved it diagonally down towards the black end of it. And to give the rendering a little extra color, I shifted the hue bar around when I picked my shading and highlight colors. Since this is practically my first video, I feel like I should probably say what I'm going to be uploading, which will most likely be art, den decorating, and just generally playing mostly classic, but I do also like play wild. It has grown on me a little bit, okay? But obviously my main character, my main fit is from Animal Jam Classic, as you can tell from my talk sprite. My next video is most likely going to be an autumn-themed cafe den decorating video. I already have all the items I want to put in the den picked out, but I just need to actually decorate it. And I'm not even sure if I have enough space in the den for it all, but I think I'll make it fit. I think it'll all work. Rendering the bow had to be the most difficult part of this entire process because the line art inside the bow was messing up how I wanted to render it. So eventually I just gave up with the line art inside of it and erased all of it so I could freely render it however I felt like would look best. But now let's get to my favorite part of the process, the eyes. I didn't know how I was gonna really render them, so I just kind of went for it. I knew I wanted a variety of colors in it, so I had 2 highlight colors and 2 shading colors just to create a little extra pull to it. No. I just wanted them to look nice. I don't know. And whatever I did, it looked nice. Put little squiggles in the highlights. Just cause I can. I don't know, I'm not a professional. And I decided for the upper highlight on the eyes that I was just gonna leave it the base color of it because it worked well as the highlight already. And I also did rendering on the eyelashes as well because I like giving them an actual color instead of making them like all black like some people do. I'm just not a big fan of it. And I like having colored eyelashes, especially because it gives you more freedom to, if you want white eyelashes on a character, you can put that without having to find some other way to represent it. And I just like having that consistency throughout my art, that I don't have just all black eyelashes and then one has white eyelashes. I like that all of them have colored eyelashes. And right here I'm doing the highlights. I didn't really know how I wanted to place them on the eyes, so I just kinda winged it like I did with most of this. Since there's no transform tool, it's kind of frustrating having to replace stuff anytime you want to move it, but I don't know, we get through it. And I wanted to add a slight black outline to the highlights to give them a little extra pop, since the eyes are a very close to white, off-white, that it might blend in a little too much for my preference. For the tail rendering, I was initially going to duplicate the base color layer and just fill in the darker colors onto the tail and erase what I wanted to erase. But after I did that, I was kind of like, I think I could do better just freehanding it. And so I just did a bunch of like zigzagged lines all over the tail where it made sense to put shading and lighting. I think it turned out better than it would have if I stuck with my initial idea. And then we get to the lollipops. For the lollipops rendering, I duplicated the base color layer and filled in the colors I wanted to use to shade them with, and then just erased around where there wouldn't be any shading, or where there wouldn't be any highlights. Just because with the pattern on them, it would have been so painful to individually draw out every little bit where there would be shading and highlighting because of the pattern, and I would have to change the color in between each section of it to keep it nice and consistent. We can finally start working on the background, which I have been slightly dreading. As you could have seen on the sketch, there was like a bunch of candies that I was thinking of making the background, but after I tried drawing like 4, I was done. I was done doing that. I already sunk in like 10 hours on this already, so I didn't really feel like drawing all of those candies. So I decided to switch to a more simple design. So for the border, I've never had to manually draw a border on anything, but it wasn't too awfully hard. I literally just took a brush about the size of what I wanted and traced along the line art edge of everything until I got it all filled in. And there was obviously some spots that I could just quickly fill in because I knew there wouldn't be any gaps in there. I originally started with a thicker one, but I didn't really like how that looked and went slightly thinner. For the first background attempt, I was thinking maybe like a glowing effect. So I used the airbrush on a orange background and tried blurring it out. But the second technique I tried to use to make it blur better was smudging it all and then going in with the blur brush, which didn't, well, it helped, I just didn't like it. So we scrapped that, and then I started drawing in the candies to see how that would look. No, not doing that. But then I drew the skeleton fish, and it looked great. It looked wonderful. It was my best idea yet. So I just kept drawing a few of the bigger ones around it, just to take up some of that space so it wasn't all empty. With the fish, I decided to make them a darker orange than the background, just so they didn't stand out too much. And this is when I start adding the candy corns to fill in some of the extra space that I thought needed a little more in it. And I just took the eraser and erased lines into it to make it look more candy corn, because otherwise it just looks like little triangles. After I finished drawing the candy corns, I turned the border layer back on, and with that, I changed the color to a yellow, just so it stood out, but I thought the white was just too potent. And it's not like there's any opacity options for layers, so this was the second best option I could do. After I finished changing the color of the border, I was pretty much done with the entire masterpiece. And this is what it looks like. Again, I am still currently waiting for it to be approved, but hopefully it'll be approved before I release this video so you guys can see it in my den as an item. As I was editing this video, my masterpiece actually got approved, so if you would like to go check it out, drop a like on it, I don't know, it'll be in my den. Thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate that you took the time out of your day to watch my little video! It's been so long since I've actually recorded anything. I'm very nervous posting this, and I'm very nervous while recording this. So thank you. And for the ruffle, the neck ruffle thing, I completely went off sketch and just fucking freehand. But at least with Animal Jam Play Wild, you can use their color pickle